It is 6 o'clock on Saturday, the 2nd of November, 2019. Good evening and thank you for tuning in to the English edition of Ora News. My name is Oliver, bringing you the only daily update of the local Albanian news translated into English. Making headlines tonight, Durrës prosecutor Arjan Doj has denied seeing the perpetrators of the recent assassination attempt on him at 4:30 p.m. near the Shkozet overpass. His colleagues from the Serious Crimes Court have questioned the prosecutor, who was injured by 2 bullets on the 2nd floor of the Durrës hospital, who came out of emergency care. It is learned that he did not give a detailed explanation of the incident, but repeated, quote, "I have not seen anything," several times, while explaining that after lunch at a location along the beach in Durrës with his driver Andi Maloku, a man named Landi Murharemi approached the table. They then drove off in a vehicle to Tirana. Doj said that he did not notice anything suspicious until the moment that gunfire riddled the car. The prosecutor claimed to have failed to notice anything regarding the perpetrators after the car lost its direction and steered off the road. According to Doj, the deviation of the car that his driver made resulted in the deaths of 3 people after being struck by bullets. The other individual injured in the incident, Alexander Laho, is also known as Landi Murharemi, will now remain in intensive care after receiving a bullet to the shoulder and jaw, making it impossible for him to communicate. He and the other prosecutor, Doj, are being guarded by police forces at the Durrës hospital. Meanwhile, it appears that the investigation team had forgotten the license plate of the car with which the prosecutor Doj was riding in a night ago. According to the data, the car was traveling from Durrës to Tirana at about 90 kilometers an hour until after a hail of gunfire, where it then collided with a roundabout before ending up in a nearby canal. Now, moving on, October 18th, which is the day Albania was denied access to negotiations with the EU, is being described as a black day for Albanians by the Republican Party leader Fatmir Mediu, who believes that the only way the country can resolve its political crisis is through holding snap elections. At the Republican National Assembly, Mediu proposed setting up a national committee on integration, which he said should be chaired by 2 former foreign ministers, Besnik Mustafa of the Democratic Party and Arta Dade of the Socialist Party. The Republican Party leader also had a clear proposal in regards to the electoral system. The Republicans' proposal for the Constitution and electoral reform go further, demanding a president from the people, the creation of a 2-chamber parliamentary system, a Senate and a House of Representatives, and a review of territorial reform. Mediu has called for the unification of the opposition's position on these and other important issues. Well, the United States Department released its latest report on terrorism, which summarizes the achievements and challenges faced by the United States and its allied countries to combat and defeat terrorist organizations in 2018. According to the report, Europe faced a number of ongoing threats and concerns, including from foreign terrorist organizations, FTFs, or foreign terrorist fighters returning from Iraq and Syria, homegrown terrorists, and Iranian-sponsored terrorist groups and militias. The section detailing Albania states that the country continued its strong support of international counterterrorism efforts in 2018, including its participation in the global coalition to defeat ISIS. The report stressed that Albania has made contributions in the fight against terrorism, but the coordination of security and juridical bodies remains a problem. Constitutional and legal reforms to the judiciary are underway, beginning with the vetting of Albania's 800 judges and prosecutors, which is meant to weed out corruption and ties to organized crime. As of December 2018, the Vetting Commission and the International Monitoring Operation had dismissed 30 judges, confirmed 31 new judges, and noted 16 judicial resignations that preempted the vetting process, said the report by the U.S. State Department. In its latest report on terrorism, the U.S. State Department states that in 2018, the country did not report incidents of a terroristic nature, but managed to avoid an Iranian-sponsored attack. The anti-terror unit of the Albanian police, prosecutors, and special judges were trained by the United States to address the deficits reported by the European Council in July in areas such as the confiscation of laundered money, investigation of terrorist financing, and the enforcement of sanctions. For the U.S. State Department, corruption and the justice system are obstacles. Corruption and barriers to information sharing among government agencies, insufficiently intra-agency coordination, and a poorly functioning judicial system continue to hinder Albania's law enforcement efforts at all levels, the U.S. State Department informs. The report assesses constitutional and legal reforms to investigate the legal history and background of previous judges and prosecutors. It is noted that the threats of terrorism in Albania continue from FTFs returning from Iraq and Syria, in addition to attempts to radicalize Albanian youth and promote violence. As for Kosovo, the danger is even greater. An estimated 200 people have left to fight in the Holy War and still remain in conflict zones in the Middle East. And next up tonight, poverty and insecurity have taken over Albanian families. Former MP of the Socialist Movement for Integration Party, Nora Malaj, stated that the state does not exist at a time when free healthcare was promised and therefore insecurity has taken over the country. Malaj points out that the problem of divorce continues to be a significant problem while children are suffering from low living standards. According to Malaj, Albanian families are undergoing their deepest economical, social, moral, and integral crisis, and it's women who are suffering the most. The concession of water supply and sewerage companies is being regarded with pessimism by some citizens. They say that this initiative will not solve the problem and stress that it may actually raise prices for the service provided. But beyond the draft submitted for the consultation by the Ministry of Infrastructure, which provides for the concessionary provision of this service, another tender has been opened for the water supply. The announcement declared at the Public Procurement Agency foresees the establishment of a digitalization system for the monitoring and reporting on water supply and sewage companies. The limit fund made available for this procurement is totaled at 146.2 million lek, financed by the state budget. The deadline for the submission of bids by the companies is November 25th of this year. The system that is expected to be built aims to automate the process of identifying, registering, and maintaining assets in the water and sewerage sector. The digitalization of enterprise data also aims to coordinate efforts between institutions at the central and local levels as to improve monitoring in this sector. In this way, water supply companies across the country will be obliged to report periodically to the National Agency of Water Supply and Sewerage. And finally, tonight, local institutions have not been effective in coping with emergency situations in Leja. Criticism for failing locals comes from district prefect at an emergency meeting. After analyzing the institution's responses to situations involving wildfires and flooding, the mayor warned regional leaders that they would have to face the law if they did not comply with their duties. There's a situation and I have to call 3 people on the phone to find Director X or Chief Inspector Y to be able to handle the situation, said Jokyaku. The proof for locals will be the management of situations that may arise this winter. For each of the actors that the law designates to be an integral part of the working group, it places a criminal responsibility on each of them, said Yaku. Fires during the hot months and floods in the rainy season have caused problems over the years for Leja's district, and according to the mayor, locals have failed to be efficient in their dealings. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join us again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of Ora News, thank you and have a good night.